Greetings commanders, this is KreeKree here, and I am an elite dangerous content creator. If you would like to catch me live, you can catch me at twitch.tv/KreeKree, where we have community events, biggest one being 𝗕𝗬𝗢𝗢 Friday, where we come together to kill Thargoids so that we can help you make millions or even billions of credits. Now just before we get into the build, I would like to just let you guys know that even though that this ship is an Imperial ship, you don't actually need to do any kind of rep grinding to get this ship. You can just simply buy it at any available station that has it. Today's video is going to be a combat Imperial Eagle. So I'll be going through the modules that you would need for it, any power priority, and the fire groups. Now let's get into it. So starting off with the hardpoints. Now for the hardpoints, there is 1 medium and 2 small hardpoints. So for the class 2, which is the medium, at the top of the ship, I've put in 𝗕𝗬𝗢𝗓 beam laser. Now the reason why I have a beam laser there is because, one, I wanted to be able to have a lot of power to take down the enemy's shields, and 2, with gimbaled, it does help with your aim, although do keep in mind that when an enemy uses their chaff launcher, it means that they scramble your aim. So if you'd like to combat that and also work on your aim in general, then I would suggest moving this to a fixed module instead of gimbal. Now for these 2 small hardpoints, I've put in gimbaled multi-cannons. So multi-cannons are used to take down your opponent's hull, and having them gimbaled really helps when you're in a fight. So it does track your opponent easier, but as I said before, do be careful of that chaff launcher, and if it is used and you have a fixed beam, then just use your beam at the time. Now onto the utility mounts. Now for this ship, it only has 1 utility mount, so for this, it's kind of up to you what you would like to put in there. I have personally put in an A-rated shield booster, just so that we, as it sounds, have more shield protection. It does boost it by 20%, which is good, but if you would prefer, you could put in a heatsink if you feel like you're going to overheat with the beam, or you could put in your own chaff launcher as well to scramble any of the gimbaled weapons of your opponent. I would suggest playing around a bit with it. Now to the core internal. Now for the core internal, I put in the military grade composite for the armor. You do have that hull boost of 250%, which does definitely help you out with lasting a bit longer in a fight. Some people might change that to maybe, I'm not too sure what else you would use, but if you feel like that a different type of armor would work, then do let me know in the comments below. But I have personally gone with the military grade composite just because of that hull boost. For the power plant, I've gone with a 3A because, as you can see down here, the retracted versus deployed, you don't actually go over the allotted amount of power that is in your ship. You actually have 0.06 megawatts spare, which is really good when you've got everything deployed. Though you don't really need to do much in terms of the power priority, but we'll get into that a bit later. For the thrusters, I have made sure that I've put in a 3A. This is because this ship is quite small and very maneuverable, so having a high class and high rated thrusters that you could possibly get, which is the 3A, really helps you get behind your enemies, especially if you're going up against a bigger ship, because generally speaking, they're not quite as maneuverable as you can be, and your boost speed is actually really good, being 411 meters per second. So if you need to boost around to get behind your enemies, then it's a definite boon to have there. Now for the frame shift drive, naturally I've gone with a 3A because we want to try and get as much of a jump range as we can, so always going for a 3A or the highest class and the highest rated that you can possibly get always helps. And when you do eventually get to the point where you want to engineer your frame shift drive so you can jump further, without having to stop and refuel and such, then I would suggest checking out this video here. This is about unlocking Felicity Farseer and the easiest way to do it. It also has a lot of tips and tricks in there as well, so very handy video, go definitely check that out. Next is the life support. I've gone with 1A. Normally I would D-rate this just so that we have more of a jump range, because D-rating modules means that it is the lightest that you could possibly have. But the reason why I've gone with A-rated is because that even though you're a small ship, there is a possibility that your canopy will break, which means that you'll need to use your emergency life support. And when you have an A-rated life support, it means that your emergency life support can go for 25 minutes, which is more than enough time to take down your enemies and then go to a station to repair, restock, and refuel. Next is the power distributor. Now for the power distributor, I always have the highest class and the highest rated module that I can possibly get, because this is a combat ship. So you want to be able to have the best capacity and recharge rate for all your weapons, engines, systems, just so it's a bit easier on you when you're using your pip method. Now for the sensors, I've gone with 2A. For this one, I would sometimes D-rate this as well to save for the jump range, but it does help with scanning your opponents from further away, just so that you know that you're not going to be wasting any time when it comes to going up to a ship to find out that they're actually clean and not worth attacking. So having A-rated means that you do have longer range, and the target scan angle and typical emission range is better. But again, up to you. Now onto the optional internal. So starting with the shield generator, I've gone with a 3A. So this is so that I can have the most amount of protection with my shields. So it does give me the optimal strength of 120% and maximum strength of 170%. So it does work really well against kinetic and explosive weapons. Not so much thermal, which is why I had mentioned before, when you use a beam laser or a thermal type of weapon, they're best to take down the shields, and this is the reason. You can possibly go with a bi-weave shield generator, but with bi-weave shield generators, they do go down faster, but they also recharge fastest out of all of the shield generators that are available. And if you were to have that, then I would suggest having shield cell banks, just so that you can beef them up as you go. But that means that you would be losing out on some hull reinforcement, module reinforcements, and then you'd have to deal with a bit more of a complicated power priority. So I've gone for a 3A just to make it a bit more simple for you. Now for these two class 2s, I've gone with hull reinforcements. This is obviously so that we can have more of a resistance against all types of weapons. So having your hull reinforcements that much more thicker to help you stay in the fight for longer, so that you can have more of a chance to take down your opponents. So same with these class 1s, they also help with keeping your hull that much more thicker to stay for longer, as I had mentioned before. And now for the last 2, I've gone with 2 module reinforcement packages. So these are, as you would imagine, to protect the modules of your ship. So once you have targeted an opponent, you'll be able to go to your left hand panel and over across past contacts, you'll be able to sub-target your opponent's modules specifically. I always tend to go for the power plant just because they are always in the center of the ship, which means that your aim is going to be better. Plus, if you take down their power, then they're less likely to be able to jump out of there and escape. Now for the fire groups. So with the fire groups, this is definitely very simple because there is only 6 things that you need to put into a fire group. So what I tend to do is that I put the thermal weapon in my primary fire and the kinetic weapons in my secondary fire in the same group, just in case I need to switch out from taking down their shields or taking down their hull, or just kind of letting loose and firing both at once. And then for the utility, it is up to you, but I've just put the discovery scanner on primary in another group, and the composition scanner in a secondary, and then the data link scanner on its own. But that is completely up to you how you would like to set it up, but that's how I do it. Now for the power priority. Now, as you can see, the output is always going to be 100%, and your usage, if it is over 100%, then you definitely need to set up your power priority. As a tip, what I would suggest is that having priority 1 is on the things that you always use, so life support, thrusters, that kind of thing. Secondary to that is things that you would use, obviously not constantly, but often enough that you would need it. So I would normally put in like my weapons and such. And then third, fourth, and fifth, obviously depending on how much power and stuff is being used, what you would like to have turn off once you've got your hard points out and things like that. But because this usage is only 99%, I know that regardless of having my hard points out or retracted, I will have enough power to do anything that I need to do with this ship. Another thing to note is that, as you can see here, with these modules, the power is 0%, so there won't be any need to go through priority because, well, it's 0%. Now, if this video has helped you, then definitely consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. It really does help me a lot. If you give it a go, let me know what you thought of it, and if there's any changes that you would like to suggest or that you found worked better for you. I'm always happy to learn. Now here's a playlist that are all for beginners, so if you are interested, I've got heaps of different types of ships in there. I'll see you over there, commanders. Fly safe.